Okay, let me do another example. So to solve this equation, first we're gonna determine what is the least common denominator. And here the least common denominator is x minus 6, right? Because the first denominator is x minus 6. The second denominator is 1. The third one is again x minus 6. So that's why the least common denominator is x minus 6. And then we multiply every term by x minus 6. Remember, you have to multiply every term by x minus 6. So x minus 6 cancelled. We have x and minus 4 times x minus 6. We have 4x minus 24. Over here, x minus 6 cancelled. We have 6. Let's solve this equation. So we have x minus 4x plus 24 equals 6. So we have negative 3x equals 6 minus 24. Which is negative 18. So x equals 6. However, this is not gonna be the solution. Why? Because if you look at the denominator of the rational expressions in this equation, you will see 6 is undefined values. Right, 6 is undefined value, so we cannot use this number as our solution. And if this happens, that means this rational equation has no solutions. So the answer is it has no solution. Okay. All right, let's look at another example. So here we have x over 3x minus 6 and plus 4 over x squared minus 4 equals 1/3. Alright, well, this time it's hard to tell what is the least common denominator, right? So first, let's try to factor each denominator. So 3x minus 6, we can factor this into 3 times x minus 2. So it has two factors, 3 and x minus 2. Now x squared minus 4, remember how to factor this? We can factor this using the formula of difference of two squares, right? Because this is x squared minus 2 squared. So it can be factored as x plus 2 times x minus 2. Now 3 is a constant, so just leave it as 3 times 1. Alright, now let's take a look at the least common denominator. So first, it has to contain 3 and x minus 2. So it must have these two factors. And then it must have the factors x plus 2 and x minus 2, right? However, since when we consider the factors of the first denominator, we already include x minus 2. So this time we only put x plus 2. And for the third one, since we already have a 3, so that's it. So the least common denominator is 3 times x minus 2 times x plus 2. And then before you multiply each side of the equation by the least common denominator, I would recommend you to go ahead to rewrite the denominators into the factored form. So therefore, it will be easy for you to see, okay, after you multiply each side by the least common denominator, which factors should we cancel? So over here we have x over 3 times x minus 2 plus 4 over x plus 2 times x minus 2 equals 1/3. Okay, so now let me multiply both sides of the equation by the least common denominator. And plus 3 times x minus 2 times x plus 2 multiplied by 4 over x plus 2 times x minus 2. Now equal 3 times x minus 2 times x plus 2 multiplied by 1/3. Alright, so the first term, 3 are cancelled out, and the x minus 2 are cancelled out. So we are left x times x plus 2. Let's look at the second term. So x plus 2, x minus 2, they are cancelled out. So we are left 3 times 4, so 12. On the other side, 3 is cancelled out. So we are left x minus 2 times x plus 2. Okay. Now the equation becomes this equation. Let's simplify each side before we solve it. So here we have x squared plus 2x plus 12. On the right hand side we have x squared minus 4. Okay, so now when I bring the x squared to the left hand side, I subtract x squared, so the x squared is gone. Right, and to bring the number 12 to the other side, we can subtract 12. So we have 2x equals negative 16, which means x equals negative 8. Okay. And don't forget to check the undefined values. Right. So the undefined values of the first rational expression is 2, right? And the undefined values of the second rational expression, they are 2 and they are 2 and negative 2, right? So therefore, since negative 8 is not one of them, therefore the solution of this equation is negative 8.